Yes, good man, Gary.
Okay, so we have how many attendees there at the moment, Damien? Just might be a bit early yet.
16 there at the minute, yeah, and I've started recording. Sorry, 19 in total with 3 of us. Yeah.
Right. So I tell you what I'll do is apologies everybody. I'm on underage club duties here, and I'm just at the side of a pitch in a very remote. So considering my camera off anyway for broadband width. So this meeting, as Damien says, is an introduction to a system or a scheme or a program, whatever we want to call it, whereby we are afforded the potential of games promotion officers to Longford, primarily at underage, in order to work in our schools, work in our clubs, work with our coaches, which in the majority is our mums and dads that we're trying to recruit ourselves from a nursery all the way up. We are delighted to welcome Alan Mulhall from Coaching and Games Leinster on this call to present this tonight. Damien will put up the PowerPoint. I've spoken to a few clubs on this that I've been in contact with at games over the past 4 weeks. And the feedback we're getting is very positive on what Alan's going to present. And in some quarters, it's been called a no-brainer of an offer that we could do here. However, I suppose no program or no scheme is without challenges. There will be challenges, and we will have questions at the end on this, and we will have questions over the next 3-4 weeks. But I think between us all at Christian and Og and Coaching and Games, and with Alan's help, we'll be able to answer every single one of them, and we should be able to think positively rather than negative, and forge ahead and try and put this in place for long. So I'm just going to hand over to Damien. I'm going to let Damien run the meeting because he's in a better position with coverage there, and introducing Alan on this, and if he has anything else to say. So thanks very much for logging in, guys. And I'll be on the other line just listening.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So Alan is going to come in now. Alan's going to share the presentation himself. He'll share his screen, and we'll touch in at the very end. Again, I'll try and mute anyone I can there, but just in case you knock your mic on yourself, just keep it muted. We'll share the recording. Gary will send you all an email, your club secretaries an email in the morning, and we'll share the recording and as well as the follow-on process. So anybody that couldn't make the call, just make sure to get to see the recording, and you can have a very informed conversation within your club. So Alan, thanks for coming in. If you can unmic there and you can share away. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, Damien. Is that after coming up on the screen there now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thanks very much. Thanks, Gary and Damien, and also Albert, Peter and Finbar, who we would have had conversations about. And when I spoke to Leinster on behalf, or when I spoke to Longford on behalf of Leinster, in particular Pat Tehan and Derek Kent, who are chairman of Leinster Council, and Derek is chairman of Coaching and Games, but also vice chairman, and Michael Reynolds, Leinster secretary, they're very much in favour of trying to help all the counties in Leinster and trying to get through to them that the opportunity is here, that Leinster are going to try and support financially and provide the opportunity to provide GPOs in all the clubs around the rest of the province. So as you probably know, this has been in it has been in Dublin for a large number of years. It's been in East Leinster now 4 years and has proven very successful. So that's in Louth, Meath, Kildare, Wicklow and Wexford. And now we're extending it throughout the rest of the province. We've met a large number of county boards and spoken to them. We've met with clubs, and the wheels are in motion in a lot of places. And we probably would have had a meeting a little bit earlier, only the lads, in fairness to them, they wanted to give everyone the opportunity to get last year's fixtures and get everything up to date and get the pitch work up and running before we started talking about a programme like this and moving it on. So my own name's Alan Mulhall. I'm the Coaching and Games Development Manager in Leinster. I was 5 years Games Manager in Offaly. and now I'm going into my 6th year as games manager in Leinster. So I look after Louth, Meath, Kildare, Longford and Westmeath, and I'd be working on a regular basis with Damien, Peter and all the full-time staff there in Longford. So we'll get straight into it. One of our main aims in coaching games in Leinster, sorry, we've 3 main aims in coaching games in Leinster. And as you can see here, club support is the first one. So that has many guises, many forms. So we want to get out and be there to assist club coaches, not just in schools, not just on the field coaching, but educating those coaches, try and do everything we can to help the coaches. So the GPO's role is very wide ranging, but the main benefit there is club support. The next is providing games opportunities. So we look at a games program like Longford, which in fairness, looking at the Longford Leitrim leagues and everything that's going on, it's very comprehensive. And for a small county, making huge strides to provide as many games as possible. That's not happening in every county around the province. And you're trying to keep the players as much as possible. A lot of you that I know the names popping up there from the Leinster leagues and that, you see the benefit in them. So we want to try and see, can we provide more games? And through your GPO, we'd be expecting in-house leagues, internal leagues, street leagues, all different things to be run by the GPO as well, to try and provide more games to supplement the county games programme that's going on in the county. And then what we'd like as well is all our GPOs and all our GDAs, all our staff are coach developers. We don't want Paddy O'Connor or Owen Devine O'Grady or Kieran to be just going in doing a coaching session. Any lads are going out, or Seamus Hughes, they're going out and they're leaving something behind. We want to develop coaches long term. We want everyone that gets involved in a nursery who are a lot are novice coaches and maybe just parents that come down. We want to be able to leave something behind and educate them. And that's one of the big roles for all our GPOs and our GDAs. The whole thing is to help as many as possible to develop the coaches. So what will a GPO do in your club? Everyone knows primary school coaching is the big thing, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we're going through timetables and things like that. So coaching in the primary schools, that's going to take up the bulk of the hours because we're looking at recruiting players, we're looking at improving skill levels. After schools program, I've met with a number of clubs now across the province rolling this out, and what I would be hearing back is, we don't bother with an after school, we've never done after school programs, that won't work in our place, why would it work there? But I've seen any of the clubs that have really taken this on and are working well with a GPO, they have before school coaching, they have after school programs, they have coaching in the greens, different things like that, that's outside your regular training at 7 o'clock every Friday evening or your coaching in the schools. And that's where you're gathering more players, more momentum. Like some of the clubs that I'd be dealing with, like I was only talking to a club this morning, they're after creating a whole new ladies camogie team. Obviously it's ladies camogie. They're going to have a camogie team now out of GPO. Now they've got 12 new players in because they started the after school program, which was done for 6 weeks down in the school and the other 6 weeks inside in the club. So they were able to work on both, and now there's a lot of players that are coming down to the club and have stayed going down to the club now. So we have to be kind of thinking outside the box with this as well. Establish excellent club nurseries from 4 to 6 year olds. We want to make sure that every club in Longford has a proper nursery, not just we're a small club and our 4-year-olds train our 8-year-olds. That's not helping to develop the 8-year-olds properly. It's not helping to develop the 4-year-olds. We want to be able to do with that. You have a club nursery. I come from a tiny club. I don't know if any of you know at Walsh Island myself. It's a tiny little club, and we have to have our own nursery because it's no good to our younger players going mixing with the 8-year-olds because we're just not strong enough. They can't do the skills. The 8-year-olds get frustrated. The parents of the 8-year-olds get frustrated. So we want to make sure that we're able to do that in each club. We want to assist club coaches on a regular basis through formal and informal coach education. So through informal, so you all probably heard of the tourist program. So we're going out, working with the coaches, educating, developing the coaches, helping them, giving them ideas, giving them small bits of advice, doing sample sessions that they can learn from, but also doing a coordinated session between the two that can bounce off each other and build that rapport and build that relationship to kind of throw out new ideas and try everything. Then, of course, we have the formal coach education, which is your foundation, award 1, award 2, etc. So if you have a GPO in your club, what we'd be looking to do. Now, not everyone that comes into the GPO role is trained up to deliver foundations straight away, but we'd be hoping to be able to get everyone trained up within the first year to 18 months so that they can deliver the foundation courses and they can deliver them on your own doorstep. Like, I don't know how many times Damien, and because Offaly will say, when we divide Offaly in football and hurling into similar size when I used to be there, and Damien has Longford there, nearly everything would be done in a central basis, or trying to do on a central basis, and you don't get people to travel. Whereas if you're able to go out into the clubs, and even if it's just a foundation course with 10 people in the club, that's 10 people in the club who are going to stay there and work in that club, rather than 2 or 3 travelling into Longford to do the session in there. We want to be able to try and do it that way. We want to try and push the running of club camps and cool camps. Okay, every club in Longford and in Ireland is expected to run a club camp first, but then we're also looking to run a cool camp, by policy. But then we want to try and assist in running of club camps. These are happening all over the country, where some clubs where clubs are running their own camp. People are volunteering to help out, giving a few days off work, or else they're getting 18, 19-year-olds that aren't working fully, that they're coming in and helping out at the camps, and it's providing an activity during the summer. So it's an extra 3 or 4 days or 5 days of activity during the summer on top of the cool camp. And it also helps to fund the GPO model as well. Want to provide extra games opportunities for young players, like I spoke about, street leagues, in-house leagues, post-primary leagues, helping out in that way so that we're getting more players playing for longer in the year. And then one that we find is very popular for teenage players in particular, we'd often be here, how do we break down, or how do we stop the dropout and break the routine that the kids, when they go into secondary school, they kind of fall off and aren't playing. Athletic development programs seem to be one of the big things that work there, because the young lads and ladies want to be doing the strength and conditioning, they want to be involved. And when you're doing that, and you're able to do that in the school, or do it in the straight after school, you're able to hold on to them for that bit longer, and you're able to get them into the pitch then for matches and training. So what does a GPO working week look like? So we're talking about a 2-club model here. So that would be 2 clubs have 1 GPO for 39 hours between them. So generally it'll be Monday off. So they'll be in schools from 9 until 3, schools coaching. They'd have some administration work. Then Wednesday to be in another club doing schools coaching and club support that evening. Then you can see there schools coaching the next day, and Thursday. Friday is club support and schools coaching, and a Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon coaching again. The big thing here is we have to be very fair to people, but we also want to make sure clubs are getting value for money in what they're investing. We wouldn't be asking anyone to be working 3 times a week outside unsociable hours. So that would be 2 evenings and a Saturday, or that maybe 3 evenings and an early Saturday, things like that. We work around that, and that'll be all done in conjunction with Damien to make sure that the hours are being filled, and also that it's being fair on the people that are involved. All these people have their own lives and have their own hobbies and stuff as well that they're involved in, so we have to be conscious of that too. But what we'd expect is at least 2 evenings a week and a Saturday that we're out working with clubs, working in with coaches, and helping out with blitzes and organising blitzes and things like that. The management of a GPO. So this is where it starts to get a little bit, I won't say tricky, but a little bit more complicated, and we want to make sure it's done right. So all the staff, all GPOs taken on are employees of Leinster GAA. They're not employees of Longford, they're not employees of the club, they're Leinster GAA employees. The games manager will manage the staff day to day. So if there's any HR issues or information coming from Leinster or Croke Park, it's the games manager's responsibility to make sure all that information gets through. The club steering committee is put in place to help set the work programme for the GPO. The club steering committee meets with the GPO and the county games manager 4 times a year, and all GPOs work to yearly targets set by Longford games manager and Leinster games manager with the end of year reviews in place. That's myself and Damien. And then the county games manager will have regular contact with the club. So to put that in very clear terms, Damien will have some small projects, and I'll have some small projects that we'll expect the GPO to roll out. But these aren't going to be taken away from your time. These are projects that will be adding to your club. So instead of just doing session after session out in the club in the evenings, one of the projects will be tourists. So we'd be expecting that the GPO will be delivering tourists in your club. So You're getting the benefit out of it, and we're getting our programme met and rolled out there. At the end of the day, the club steering committee is the most important thing in this, and having one person who's going to deal with the club steering committee or going to deal with the GPO is key. So the club steering committee will set the priority. So I'm just going to use, say, one of the big clubs. I'll just use Slashers. I know they have a GPO already, but just use Slashers for example, because it has the most schools that I know of there. They have to decide at different times of year what schools to go into. So if you invest in this and you only take on 19 and a half hours a week, and you think you have enough work for 25 or 30 hours, you're going to have to share that around in the schools and make the decisions. What school you're going to get most bang for your buck out of? What is the priority area that you want to work on? You're going to have to liaise with the school teacher and make sure that you're going to get access to. I've spoken to a number of clubs before, definitely going to get 5 days a week. So we have a huge school. I said, that's grand, go and talk to the principal. Next thing they come back and say, we'll get 5 days a week for the first term and that's it. Because I have to take in rugby and soccer, or else we're told, no, you'll get 1 day a week for the whole term, for the whole year. So that's something that I'd be asking you to go away and have a talk about after. Meet with your school principal, have a chat with them and try and find out if we as a club invest in a GPO, will we have access to the kids in the school for 2 to 3 days a week? Or is it only going to be 1 day a week and you have to tailor your investment then accordingly to that? So the cost. Yeah, so the cost, a single club GPO is €20,000 per year. There's no negotiation on that. That works throughout the province. That is standardised across the whole lot. Longford and Leinster GAA will pay the remaining contribution on each GPO then, and then Leinster will be the employer and carry all employer liability. Leinster will manage all recruitment to GPOs, and all GPOs are hired on an initial 1 year contract. So what happens there is Leinster GAA will be responsible for all the advertising. Depending on the role or the time when it's happening, we might specify that it's in Longford, or it might be Leinster general recruitment drive, and then all the counties in Leinster will be recruiting at the one time. But we will look and highlight people for Longford as well, and we'll be asking Longford to publicise it and publicise with clubs and publicise on social media and everything like that. All advertisement will go up on jobs.ie, and the interviews will be carried out by myself, member of HR in Crow Park, and a member of Longford staff, which will normally be Damien or Peter. And then we'll be carrying out the interviews there. Leinster GAA have all the liability here. So if there's issues with the staff member, it's up to Leinster GAA to deal with it. Okay? It won't be a case that a club is left with someone, or someone that's not working out, the club isn't left with them. That comes back to me and Damien, and we have to deal with that. We've had a few cases like that where people come into the job, thought this is a handy number, I'm going to go and do a bit of coaching. They don't realise the amount of time that the school's coaching takes up and how tiring it is. They don't realise that they're going to be working 2 or 3 evenings a week and Saturdays and being out with clubs. And it just didn't work out. Just it wasn't a fit for the club. And that's something I'll speak about in a minute. But like, it just mightn't have worked out. So that's why everyone comes in on a 1 year initial contract. We have a 6 month, a 9 month and a 12 month probationary period, and we're able to look at that. Because Leinster GAA are the employer as well, we're also able to move GPOs around. So if, as a case I'll tell you about now, if there's a case like this where it just mightn't be working out with someone, it was just the wrong fit for the club. So some clubs want to have people who are full of energy in schools all day, every day. Then other clubs want people who are going to try to do more mentoring and be involved that way. So it's just the fit for the club was wrong. And we were able to move that and replace that GPO there. So there was no problem there. We were able to move them around, and there's no issue there because Leinster GAA are the overall employer. So there's no club going to be left with someone like that. Also, we look after all the interviews. Question we're going to get at some stage tonight or the next night when we meet is, we're putting money into this, we want to say in who we get. You will of course have a say, but you can't go on the interview board. We can't have 15, 20 people nearly on an interview board if there's that many clubs from Longford looking for GPOs. So you have to trust ourselves and Damien to do this properly. We're not going to just land someone in on top of you. We're going to discuss the person with you. We'll have a good discussion. We'll have information about them. We'll have 2 or 3 options and we'll talk you through them and see what's the best fit for your club. Like I said, we're not going to just land someone in with you. And similar, if we go that you're going to be sharing a GPO, so if two clubs go together, and just thinking of the town in Navan, say for instance, where we're at 4 years at, over 4 years at it now, and there's various levels where clubs have bought in. So one club has invested 20,000, two clubs 10,000 each. Sorry, one club 20,000, one club 15,000, one club 10, and one club 5,000. So that means a half, a third, a quarter, and yeah, half, third, a quarter, and a full GPO. So that's all in the town of Navan. We were never going to make any of those clubs share. There's too much politics, too much going on there. We're not going to be the ones. I certainly don't want to be down in Longford every day of the week dealing with internal issues like that. And I know Damien, Peter, and Albert and lads, Gary, don't want to have to deal with it either. So we'll be very cognizant of what clubs we're able to put together and what way we're going to make this work. It's not that it's not going to be me sitting up in Line and Portlaoise saying these two clubs look like they'll go together and put there. I'll be using all the local knowledge I can get and all the people locally that I can work with, and we'll make sure that we have as good a fit as possible to make it work. Okay, so we're particularly aware, in 2021, it's a large cost, but the benefits are massive. The GPOs can create some revenue themselves through running club camps at Easter, summer and Halloween. And in some places, they've done a slight increase in membership fees because there is so much more service and coaching going on in schools and coaching going on in the club, that they're able to increase the membership slightly, and that helps towards the fees as well. But the big one is getting the activity during the Halloween, summer and Easter breaks. That is a big help, and there's clubs able to make, say, 6, 8, 10,000 euro from those kind of camps if they're done properly. So then we're talking about Wexford as a model. In 2018, Wexford had a games manager, 3 GDAs and 0 GPOs, and they were trying to service, I think it was 49 clubs, or 41 clubs, sorry, I'm not sure. Now in 2021, the games manager, 2 bits. I logged out there, Damien.
Yeah, you just dropped for a second, Alan, just before you went on to the 2021 bit. So we got the 2018 bit.
Yeah. Okay. So now Longford or Wexford have 1 games manager, 2 GDAs, and 11 GPOs. So the 2 GDAs look after the county programmes and the county work that's going on. It comes down from Crow Park. The GPOs are fully out in the clubs, and they're working away there, and they're doing the schools coaching. They're doing the coaching in the evenings, and making sure everything is delivered out in the clubs and making it so much easier. And the benefits are massive. And number of teams, number of kids getting coaching, we can really see an increase there. I suppose the next thing here is just to show that impact. So looking at the total number of registered teams in 2016 in Kildare, and now the total number of registered teams in 2019, 3 years into the programme, was an increase of 300, 42% increase. And that's just, they're getting more teams out. There's second teams at under 13, second teams under 15, so on. They're just getting more numbers out, more teams out, and there's more players playing. And it's just because there's a constant presence in the school, and it's also because that person that's in the school is the person that's the face of the club, and they're down in the club and able to bring it down. So you could have someone in the school in Killaloe wearing the Killaloe gear, advertising it every day that they can, and they're in there. I'll see you down the club, meeting the parents at the gate, being the face of Killaloe, and then they're down in the club and they're that familiar face again, and they're getting as many as possible down there. So again, we get asked the question about value for money. So Derry Kent would have the phrase that he always uses: what gets measured gets fixed. So we have a GAA activity tracker in Leinster, and that shows us every time that a GPO is out with a club and what they're doing with the club. So if they're out doing a mentoring session, if they're out doing a nursery session, if they're out coaching in the schools, we're able to see how many kids they're working with, or how many coaches they're working with, and how often they're out there. So we have all that on a simple spreadsheet that comes in through a Microsoft form, and it only takes, I'd say, 30 seconds to fill out, if even. Then we also looking at providing games opportunities. We can see all that through the games management system and the GAA activity tracker, and it's all there. all the information is coming in. So we'll be able to say that Longford County Board are providing 15 games for an under 11. But looking at the clubs in Longford, they're providing their own games for another 4 or 5 games because they have a GPO run a tournament or run a coordinated league, things like that. So we're able to see that they're getting more games. So they're getting activity for maybe 20, 25 weeks during the year, or getting games 25 times during the year. And so then coach development, we're able to track all the coaches that come through the formal coach education system, and we have everyone's details and what courses they've done, and we're able to feed that back to the clubs. And at the end of the year, or the end of each quarter, we're able to pull down these reports and be able to say, this is what you're after getting from your GPO in the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever way you want to work it. So the next steps for this, we'll have a few questions afterwards. We probably won't get into too many, Damien. You were saying you're be leaning more towards having a formal meeting where I can go down to Longford. So next steps is arrange a meeting in your own club, discuss this. We'll email out some of the information to you tomorrow, and then you'll be able to we'll have an in-person meeting in Pearse Park. I'll go down to Pearse Park. I'll go down to Pearse Park that week, and we can have a meeting there. And then we'll have the audit form to send out to clubs, so the clubs are able to get more information into it and identify their own priority objectives, and then we can start making a move from there if you're interested. Okay, and then formally return by Friday the September 10th.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Alan. So I don't know if Gary wants to come back in there just to sort of wrap things up. Again, as Alan has sort of referenced there, we want clubs to be able to have this conversation internally before you start bringing questions back. If there is anything there, you can drop it into the text box. But just that you have a chance to share all this information with as many people as possible within your club. You jot down the few questions that you might have or that you need a little bit more clarity on. And as Alan said, he'll come into the park someday. We'll put people in the stand, and we can go through those questions, and it can be a bit more of an over and back discussion rather than just a sort of one way that this is here. And then the form will be sent out to fill in the details about your club, the number of kids you have, schools, teams, all the rest. And there's a little bit of work in that. And then by early September, if you're interested and those submissions come back, it will move on to the next step. So look at it, I suppose 6 weeks in front of us now of keeping this at the forefront of your club meetings and just chatting to people about it and seeing how it works for you. So Gary is there if you want to wrap up, Gary. And as I say, if anyone wants to drop anything in the text box that can't wait until the next week or two you've had your club meeting, feel free to do that.
Thanks, Damien, and everybody that's come in on this one. There's one underlying issue as an underage community in Longford, and we've been talking about it at every meeting that we've had. It's communication. So it's really, really important that the people on this call tonight feed this communication back to the rest of their colleagues at underage, and more importantly, to the senior clubs. If your senior secretaries, chairmen, treasurers isn't here, there is a financial cost to this, and we're going to have to consider this moving forward. And we are only subcommittees of our senior clubs, so there's already people texting me this evening going, is this call on? I heard this call was on. What time is it at? And this is just this evening at 5 o'clock. So there is some clubs that are not feeding the right information back. So I have to press that point before you go home tonight. Now, those that are on the meeting, I'm preaching to the converted. I know that. So we do have to go out individually to other clubs that haven't logged in tonight and have missed this call, and we'll send them the video of the presentation and the where for all. But from my point of view, it's communication. We got to start talking about this seriously and considering Longford underage hurling and football. We're looking at 5 years ahead. There's no point just saying, yeah, we've a good team this September, we'll give it a go. What about next year? Oh, haven't a clue, haven't looked at it yet. So that's what this is about. This is about a 5 to 7 year plan. So I'm just going to leave it
Can I just come in on that, Gary? And you're after hitting a nail on the head. I'm after meeting a few counties, and I've been to, say, 2 county board meetings to discuss this and go through it. And then I get a call to come out and talk to people in the club, and I go and talk to them and meet them. And the information hasn't gotten down at all to the relevant people. 2 or 3 people think it's a good idea, but then the treasurer hasn't been informed, or maybe the club chairman is only a bit iffy about it. And, there's just, the communication is key. It's duplicating everyone's work. It's putting yourself in an awkward position if you don't know about it. So getting the information to everyone in the club, do that as best possible. And I've no problem going meeting any club or talking to any club, whether it's on Teams or going down and meeting them outside or whatever way you want. There's no issue there, but it's just make sure the information is getting to the right people.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alan, and I agree. So put it this way, Alan is coming to the table for everybody. He's willing to do the long haul on this one and help Longford out on this, as well as the other counties in his area. Damien and I have discussed this at length, and we've had meetings with Finbar, who's on this call, and Albert. And Damien and I and Finbar are the conduit here. We do not mind hitting the road in Longford to every single club and repeating this message over and over. But when Alan comes down, we kind of need to know that everybody's understanding is why he's coming down. So there's no point Alan coming down and then talking to somebody that's just heard this for the first time. So that's where we're at there. So if we could relay the message out to as many as we know in the GAA community, it would be great. And yeah, thanks. And I know it's the people not on this call I need to reach, and not the people on this call. So fair play to you all for logging in. Thanks very much.
Gary, I'll take that question there, Damien, because it's one that's probably important before people start talking to their clubs. The max number, we've done it across Leinster where we bring 5 clubs together, and 5 clubs is very tricky. It's very awkward to deal with. I would be suggesting that 4 clubs is a better model as the max number. 5 clubs does get very tricky because you might only get a visit every 3 weeks nearly, or once every 2 weeks. Whereas with the 4 clubs, you're able to work it a bit better, and you're getting a visit every 7 or 8 days in your club. So I would be suggesting that 4 be the max we go to. Now, if there's special cases that we need to look at, and it's a group of small clubs coming together that don't have as much needs, and the schools aren't as big, we will consider that and talk to you all on that. But my own opinion and experience, 4 clubs will be the max that I think we should be going together for one GPO. And I just want to stress something as well while I'm talking, is I'd rather no one go off saying I'm going to go joining with Kilo or Slashers or whoever. Just look after your own club, look after your own area. We'll all look at it and we'll talk to you then again when we see who's interested. I've had experience a few times of 3-4 clubs coming together, and just it's like being given a jigsaw that the pieces are all different, are all wrong, sorry. They just won't fit. You might get on well and clubs get on great and geographically might be comfortable, but sometimes they don't fit because of the way schools are, the days that the schools will allow you in or whatever. You just look after yourself, look after your own club, and come with your own information, and then we'll look at the parents and the groupings and we'll talk to you in advance. We're not going to put anyone in with someone who don't want to, but no point in 2 or 3 clubs coming to me and saying we want a GPO, and then you all say, well, the school will only give us a Tuesday each, or we all want evening work every evening of the week, and we all only train on Friday. We have to look at how we can work and work around this and the flexibility around
it. Just there on that, Alan, Kieran McGuckie, so Alan has referenced Kieran and Longford Slashers a couple of times. Kieran works with Longford Slashers, and he's just texted me there, he's on the call, but he has just said that if any clubs want to get some more specific information about what he does on a day-to-day basis or how he brings value to the club, that he's amenable to taking a phone call or answering an email. And look at it, not bigging Kieran up, but I know Kieran is one of the top ones that we have in all of the province. Like, he's been a great get for Slashers. Slashers is a good fit for him, and he's a mind of information. So if anyone wants to tap into that, feel free. So that looks like it, Alan. Thanks for taking the time to chat to us all. Albert will wrap it up there and just say the goodbyes. But between Gary and myself, the email will go out tomorrow, and with the recording. And again, as both lads have encouraged all our clubs to talk to each other. So Albert, I'll let you finish off there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, James. And thank you very much to Alan and Finbar and Ray for the work that went into this. We've been working on it for the last few months, maybe more. I suppose to everybody that's here and has listened to that presentation, the most important thing about it is this isn't an experiment or a trial. This has been a proven model that has worked in East Leinster for the last number of years. And as Alan has demonstrated here, it has worked. And if we were to ignore this or knock it on the head, we'd be making the biggest mistake of our lives for the future of football in Longford. I know some of you might be daunted by the prospect of having to raise the money and the finance, but we have huge challenges going forward from other sporting organisations. And if we're to keep the GAA family together, we need to harvest all the young kids the minute they arrive in the schools. We need to grab them and get them playing with the GAA football. And this is the model that's going to do that for us, and it's the model that's going to save our clubs going forward. So whatever you do when you get back to your clubs, just don't let the money be the issue. Stress the importance of how important it is for the future of your club and the sustainability of football going forward. And the money issue will solve itself if the will is there to make it work. So once again, just thanks very much to everybody and for the efforts that you've been putting into this, and the best of luck with any help that we can give you at senior level. We're here to help. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
Thanks, Albert. I'll just end the call for everybody now. So thanks and take care.